And we're going to start off with a poll question. I've never done this before in Zoom, so if it works, great. If it doesn't, it's going to be really bad. But I'm going to there's 2 questions in here about the Globe website. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll, and I think you'll get a little pop-up perhaps. And the first question is, how familiar are you with the Globe website? And there's a 4-point scale. And then there's a second question. When was the last time you accessed the Globe website? And there's multiple choices for that too. No right answers here. We're just trying to learn a little bit about who we have in our audience, and will help us tailor these presentations to meet your needs. So take a few minutes, share results. So you can see here that everyone's been on the site at least at some point, and then we have 3 people that identify as beginners, 5 people that identify as intermediate, or they've been trained on the website before, and 5 advanced power users. Alrighty, so the beginners will be breaking up into one section that Eslam will be leading, that will be tools of the Globe website and to gain some familiarity with the website. Those of you who identified as power users, Roller will have a breakout session for you specifically about API, and he'll talk a little bit more about that because that was one of the requested topics based on the survey. And then those of you that said intermediate, or you've been trained, there's 5 of you, you have to choose. Do you want API or in the advanced, more experienced group, or do you want to learn more about some of the tools about the Globe website? And I'll ask, in a couple minutes, I'll ask you for where you want to be, and we'll make assignments into the different breakout rooms. Then the second question we have here, when was the last time you accessed the Globe website? 8 of you said last week. 3 last month, 2 last year, and no one responded that they were on longer than a year ago. So that's great. And I'm seeing, yes, I think it was Svetlana in the chat said some of the data management sections know less well, especially given the updates from the site. And so, Eslam, that might be good for you to think about for your breakout session, if in fact Svetlana attends yours. So I'm going to stop sharing the poll thing. So I'm going to ask Eslam, could you give like a 1 minute or less description of what you'll be talking about in that breakout room, and then I'll ask Roller to do the same thing.
Sure. Thank you, John. So I was going to actually start from the very, very beginning, like the difference between accounts and everything for anybody who doesn't even have an account. But since everybody here seems to have an account and they're already somewhat familiar with the website, so we're going to go ahead and start with using actual tools, like maybe start with my account and my page, and then the system, the ADAT, and other, the control panel, and so on. So along the way, if anybody is interested in a particular section, we can focus on that. Depends on how the group, I will be flexible, so we'll work together on that. But I think since we're already familiar with those tests, I'm not going to start from the very, very beginning. But we'll just go through the tools, and if we have time, of course, we'll work on exploring other sections of the website. So it's going to be up to you, to decide which parts you really want to spend more time with.
Thank you, Eslam. And I see Noah. Thank you for telling me what room you want to be in. And I'll ask for a show of hands in just a minute for those of you that want to make a choice. Roller, can you give us a minute on what the API session will be like?
Sure. We're going to talk about different scenarios you might find yourself in and why you might want to use an API. And we'll mention on where the tool is and show you some of the options that you have available for pulling data from the database. And then we'll just show you us trying out pulling some data, and then we'll give you some of the notes that we have here for just how you might interact with this data, and just more from a programmer perspective, and also from just a user perspective. You might find that there's other tools that are easier to use for your scenario than the API. we'll kind of cover that.
Great. Thank you, Roller. So now is your chance to decide what room you want to be in. So you can chat it to me, or you can raise your hand when I call out the different rooms, and I'll try to make sure everybody's placed in the right area. So feel free to do either one. So let's say first up, who would like to be in the API session with Roller? So, and keep your hands up until I call your name. Let's do that because
I just shared my screen, so let me know when you see it. Okay, good. So, as I said, I'm going to start with my account. Simply after you log in, you'll see your picture here, or you'll see just that round. If you don't have a picture already there, you'll just see a round with some kind of figure of a person. You just click on it. And the drop-down menu should appear. I'm waiting for, still actually loading here. So once I click on it, it will have a drop-down menu where it says My Page, and then it shows me notifications, and then account settings, my organizations, and of course sign up. So I'm going to go ahead and access my account settings first. And in your account setting, you'll see your picture. You can change that if you like. You can remove it or change it and upload a new one. And then you'll find in the first information tab or information link, you'll find the name, which you can change. You can change your name if you like. You can change the email address as well. The screen name cannot be changed. The screen name is given once, and that's it. It's done. And the same with the user ID. The name and the email address can be changed. The job title also. There's some information here that can easily be changed. You can edit them yourself. Some information we can edit, and some other information cannot be edited or changed. For example, the screen name can never be changed. The same thing with the user ID. The email address, if you create your account with an email address and you don't have access to that email address anymore, you can change it yourself if you can still access your account. If you don't, just let us know and we can update your email address in the website. Comments is just for you to leave comments on the account for whatever reason. We also try to use these comments if we change the password, if something happens in the account, if the user requested something on the account and we need to make sure we have a note of that request, that they requested some change. So in the future, we know why this change happened and who did that change. So we simply just put a comment about the change, the date, and then our initials, just to note who did the change and when. And then after the information, you have the organization list, and usually it's just for teachers would be one organization. It will be the school. However, for partners would be the partnership, and the country coordinators would be the country, and so on. There should be at least one school. If there's no school, the user cannot enter data. So there must be at least one school organization listed here, associated with the account, in order for them to enter data. Otherwise, they will not be able to do that. Every time they try to enter data, we will tell them you're not associated with any school organization. You need to have that associated with your account before you can enter data. The membership, that's pretty much for the sites within or communities within the global website. If you belong to some communities, it will all show here, and the inherited rules from these communities will show up here as well. And then after that, also the rules, and this is mostly reflecting the user group. So if you're a part, for example, of the Global Administration Office, you will have the help desk. And also, if you are a group member, you'll be a user, and so on. So whatever in your user group pretty much will reflect your roles. As you see here, I'm a Globe member, and I'm a full member because I got trained. I'm also a trainer. a GRSA member, GPO, that's a Globe program, and so on. So each one of those, not all of them, but at least most of them, give you inherited roles here that enables you to have some capabilities in the website. Once you get, of course, to password, if you can change your password from your account if you know your password. And of course, I mean, it's obvious that you already logged in, so you have your password. So if you don't have your password, you can change your password from the login screen simply by clicking change or / forgot password or forgot / change password. And then it will only ask you about your email address. You don't even need to provide your password. After that, there's Globe Info, which is pretty much information that you need to check to make sure that other people can see these things. For example, this is really helpful in the collaboration tool. When you use the collaboration tool, this information will auto-populate. So for example, I marked the language Arabic here so that other people know on the website that I speak Arabic. So when they try to collaborate with me, I will show up on the collaboration tool that I speak Arabic, and this way they can communicate with me in order for collaboration. So as you see here, the languages and other activities that could be displayed and the collaboration if you want to collaborate or not. Opt-in, by default, those are not checked, but if you want to participate in these things, you can always check the boxes and you will get notification. And finally, the Globe training is for your Globe training to see what protocols you got trained on, and also your training history, as well as the Globe certificate. You can download your certificate from here. We get a lot of requests for teachers who joined the Globe program and they went through training and they lost their certificate, training, and they want to prove that they got trained. So we direct them to go to their account and get to the training section where they can download a virtual or a soft copy of their certificate, and they just can print it and use it just like a regular certificate. I see it's so wide, so maybe it's not really download for some reason. Okay. Any questions so far?
I have a question. This is Matt. I must have set up a limited account when I signed up on the Globe website. I think I signed up as a STEM participant or something like that. And when I click on my little person icon at the top, it doesn't give me any option to adjust any settings. It just says citizen scientist. Should I change? Is that okay? Or I don't know.
Yep. So that was one of the issues I was going to start, but I kind of skipped. So pretty much my advice, if you're not sure about which account to choose when you're creating the account, just choose teacher account. Because Globe Observer is great for someone who doesn't really want to do anything more than entering data. Once you start wanting to do more than entering data, like for example, if you want to get trained, do blogging and all these things, it becomes more difficult. It's just really not easy, especially that the website is initially, I don't know if you know the beginning of the Globe program, it was initially targeting the teachers and students. So the website was designed in mind to keep that the teacher account is the main account. This is why the teacher account, once they become trained, they can blog, they can enter data, they can create site, they can create student accounts. So they have so many capabilities once they get trained and they show up on the website, they have a profile. With the Globe Observer, a citizen scientist, as you mentioned, you have a citizen scientist account. We're trying to make it more and more easier for them to join and do more stuff. Like now we allow them to actually get trained in the Globe protocols. They can actually access the website and use the e-training, but still they don't have a lot of capabilities. Even after they get trained, they still don't have a profile. So this is the thing with the citizen scientist account, which is created through the Globe Observer. And sometimes it's kind of confusing because sometimes even teachers themselves, when they join the Globe program, they join first through the Globe Observer because there was some kind of campaign or something, and they heard about the Globe program through the Globe Observer. So the first account they create is a citizen scientist account, and then later on they say, I'm unable to do, just like what you said, Matt, that I'm unable to create a student account. I'm unable to do this. I don't see my school. So what I say simply, you know what? Just if you want to create a teacher account or if you want to add your school, instead of me adding everything for you, I'll go ahead and delete your citizen science account, and you go ahead and create a teacher account and just follow the process. And you can use the same account to log into the Globe Observer app. So you can easily log in with the Globe Observer with your teacher account into the Globe Observer app, and you can do the same thing, same data and everything. But it's not going to be the same way, the other way around. If you have a Globe Observer account and you want to create student account under your account, it's not going to work that way. So
should I put in a help request, like a?
Please, yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead and send us a request. Do you have? Are you a teacher? Are you an educator? What is that?
I'm a college teacher, and I just work with high school students as a collaborator.
Exactly. Yep. So definitely you're going to need a teacher account. So please go ahead and let us know. Actually, I can help you now if you want. I can actually go and show you also while we're doing this. I can show you how to log in and look for users. Because I know some of your partners and also they use the control panel. So maybe that would be also good to show you while I'm doing that. Okay. So once I go to the control panel, I'll ask you for your account so I can pull it up, and then I'll go ahead and I will remove it in front of you. And then you can go ahead and create a new account, a new teacher account. Okay. The other thing also I want to say, why are we removing this? Because teachers or so anyone, not just teachers, Globe users should have only one account. Okay, so that's really to reduce any confusion. One account can be associated with as many schools as you want. So you can have the same account and you have so many schools or even organizations. It doesn't have to be a school. It could be a partnership, it could be a country. My account, as you saw, for example, here, if I go to organization, you'll see a whole list of organizations that my account is associated with. Other countries, either regions or affiliates or schools. But as a teacher, you do need at least a school, at least one school. But you can be associated with as many organizations as you want. Same thing with the rules. All you need is one account, and you can be a teacher, you can be a trainer, you can be a mentor trainer. The same account can carry many, or you can have many hats for the same account, so it will have no problem with just one account. And again, the same account, you can log into the website, log into the Globe Observer, you can log into the Globe Data Entry app. So just one account is enough for everything and works with everything. Okay, so that's the quick explanation of my account. I'm going to go ahead quickly and go to my page. I'll show you my page quickly, and then after my page, I think I'll go to control panel quickly, and then I will work with your account and show you how you can pull up account or organization. So I'm going to click on my page by clicking on my picture, and then from the list, click on my page. So in my page, as you see, there's my picture again is showing, and then there's a little bio about myself. You can always change that or edit it from here. All you need to do is just put the cursor on the text, and this will pop up, web content display, and then you can just click on the three dots here, and then you can edit that web content, and it will be just, you'll have a text editor where you can actually add text if you want to, add images, or even add videos if you want, or embedded videos like YouTube. Of course, it has to be about you and also somewhat related to Globe. Like as long as it's about your school, about your career, stuff like that, it's good. But we've seen in the past some people, like, we don't really monitor this. But if something, we've seen some people put some stuff that, like, someone put a picture of their driver license that's removed. But anyway, so also at the bottom of the page, you'll see, at the middle of the page, sorry, not the bottom, you'll see the badges that you actually obtained through your journey with Globe. So as you see, I have the GLE in Ireland. I have a badge for attending that, and also I was judged last year for the IVSS, and also another badge here. So all your badges that you obtain will be listed here to show on your page. And finally, at the bottom of the page, you'll find the student accounts, how to create them, and how to access them. So simply, if you click on the View Student Account, this window will pop up where you have a drop down for the organization, the school organization. Only school organizations will show up here, and you just select the school, and then you can create the student account under that particular school. You can create up to 50 school, 50 student accounts per school. So for each school, you can create up to 50 student accounts. And when you create the student accounts, you'll get the option between selecting between this format, or you can create something of your own choice. It's just going to always have the part where student account is. Like, for example, create my own, it always has this part in it, because I already used student 1 and student 2, so now it's going student 3. But then instead of using the whole, MCAR for all that, it's just using part of your organization as well as your name, but you don't have to do that. You can just create something else. Maybe something to identify the students without including their name, because we try to avoid including the student name because they are minors. We don't want to have any of their information listed on our website, any identifying information particularly. And once you do that, you just put the password, hit submit, and you have the student account created. Give it a student. They should be able to enter the website, enter data, as well as creating data types. They should not be able to change your information. And that's the whole reason for creating a student account, so that teachers will not share their credentials with the students. And within also my page, you have the collaboration, which pretty much shows you your friends' activities. For example, these are my friends, as you see, Roller, Jan, Brian Campbell, and Potter, and so many others. And you can see their activities on my wall here showing up, so I can tell what they're doing, how active they have been on the website. And then after collaboration, you have the blog section, where you'll see a list of your blogs, and also you can create a new blog. As you see, I do not have any. I don't create any blogs. And then finally, member activities. And these are the activities that I have done on the Globe website, as you see. Any questions about my page? Okay, we move on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and access my the control panel, just to quickly show you how to deal with the control panel. It's very helpful for partners or users with more than one organization and so on. But it's also good if you're just a teacher and you want to just manage your organization, because it should be listed there too. So to access your control panel, just from that icon here on the upper left side of the page, click that, and then this section will show up, the Manage section, and you'll see under Manage, there's a partner dashboard, and then there's users and organization. If you click on it, it will show you users and organization. Once I click it, I'll have a list of all the users that I have access to their account. So this is pretty much everybody on the website. If I want, for example, to select a particular person. I'll put here the name. So, for example, I'll try, we said, I think Matt. I don't see Matt.
I already submitted a please delete my account request.
Okay, you did already. Okay, okay.
I don't know if that's,
Okay.
if it's, yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so I will show you. You know, anyway, to show you. Let's for example, let's say you have a partnership. Okay, and you have under your partnerships there's so many accounts, and you're trying to help someone. Their password is expired, or they forgot their password, or anything with their account.
Esman?
Yes.
This is Noah. If you want to maybe use me, you can look me up. I'd be curious if I'm even in your database since it's been so long since I've logged in. Noah Newman, N-E-W-M-A-N. I don't know if you want to use me as a guinea pig and look me up.
Okay. Could you give me the last name again?
Yes, Newman, N-E-W-M-A-N.
Okay. I'll look that up.
I might not even be in there anymore.
Yep,
Hey, look at
there.
me!
Yep, you're there.
All right, I'm in.
Awesome. So the trick here is make sure to put the brackets or whatever they are. You need to make sure to put them between the name or the email address. Problem is if you don't put that, so everything similar to that on the website is going to show up. So it's going to give you way more results than just what you need. By putting those, it actually funnels the results and make it very little. So it does help you here in this situation. If I didn't put that, it will actually look for anybody with the same Noah and anybody with the last name Newman. So when I put them like that, it actually only brings the first name Noah and the last name Newman. So simply, if you click here on the three dots, you see some action. You can see edit, permissions, manage pages, impersonate user, and that's only for the help desk. So for example, if you're having an issue viewing a page or entering data or doing something on the website and you should be able to do it, we try to impersonate you so we can see what you're seeing. We try kind of
I wish I had that. I wish I had that tool when I worked at the help desk. That's a fantastic tool.
It is. It helps so much. I mean, one of the great things in the website that it does have a lot of capabilities. We got kind of a bit spoiled in the last few years that this last update that happened last year, once they upgraded the website, we lost a lot of the tools that we kind of like, oh my God, we're not able to do this. And that. It became really frustrating. So I can't imagine how you handled that before. It must have been really a process. So anyway, so if for example, what I was going to do with Matt's account, as you see at the bottom, it says deactivate. So we usually try not to delete the account. We usually try to deactivate unless the person is specifically asking to delete, and it's very clear. I want to delete my account. So we go ahead. You have to deactivate first, and after you deactivate, then it will show you the option to delete. Otherwise, it will not show you the option to delete. First deactivate, second delete. And then if I want to edit the account, I can click on the three dots and then click on edit, or I can simply just click on the name, and that will open the account where it will allow me to actually edit the account. If I want to, I can edit the name, the email address, I can change the password. And as you see here, it doesn't give me it doesn't request me to enter the current password. As a help desk, I don't have to know the current password. In fact, we don't even know it. I can just change the password for you, but I don't know your password. So I can just.
I don't know it either.
I can change it for you if you want. If you want
Yeah.
now, I can go ahead and change it, or you can use the forgot/change password. It's up to you. I can change it.
I'll use the I forgot my password.
Okay, good choice. And if you have issues, I think it's very straightforward and simple. But if you have issues, just let us know. because if your password has expired, okay, if you haven't logged in within the last 2 years, usually within the last 2 years, as it says here, password expires in 104 weeks. So that means two years. So if the password expired, you cannot use the forgot/change password. It will not let you do it. So you'll need to contact the help desk. Just send us an email and let us know that you cannot reset your password and we will reset it for you. Okay. So I'll go back to the control panel. So this is how you edit someone's account. Yes, John. Go ahead.
Just sorry to interrupt, Eslam. I just wanted to let you know that we're at 10-minute mark. And in the other session, we're just doing questions and answers in the breakout room. So we'll just stay here for Q&A.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's in the control panel. As I mentioned, you have the person. The same goes for the organization. So let's say that you have a bunch of organizations. If you're a group partner, you have a list of schools under your partnership. So let's say that you want to access those organizations. And the same goes for a teacher also. The teacher can see the school organization and they can edit some of the information if they want to. But I think only the trained teachers. So if you go to the organization here from the top and click on it, it should show you a list of your organization. So either one school or multiple schools. You shouldn't see so many, but you can do the same thing to look up a school if you want to. Okay? Just to look, if you have so many and you just don't want to waste time going through them, you can use that exact same thing we did with the name in the user, and that will populate the organization. And the same thing goes here. You can just click on the organization, and then you can edit the organization information. Oh, sorry. Actually, you need to do this. You need to click on the dot and then edit. This one doesn't allow you to do that. It will give you a preview instead. So once you click here, you can actually change the school name if you want to. If that changed for whatever reason, you can change the name. You can change the address. Some of the information also can change. Not a whole lot, but at least the name and the address and the contact information such as phone number, email addresses, and so on. Within here, also in the control panel, you'll find a partner dashboard. It's a great tool. If you're a global partner, you can access that, and it will give you a summary of all the things that you need to take care of, all the actions. A list of user groups, like who needs to be approved, who needs to, who was created account recently, and they need some monitoring or they need some help that you can communicate with them and offer training and so on. Other different kind of accounts to show you just some metrics. And finally, here it shows you workshop actions that you need to take. So as you see here, since I have more than one account, it always lists since I have more than one organization associated with my account, it always lists the default organization, the one that's the organization that's listed as my primary organization, which here is the United States. But if I want to change that to North America or go to notation office, I can select from the drop-down menu, and then it will show me all the users for that particular organization. As you see, here is request account requested. So those are brand new teachers who just joined the group account under the United States. So simply just go there and then approve the account and hit OK. It just confirms and hit OK again. And again, I will click approve account. Very simple process to approve the account. Just make sure when you're approving the account that you look at the name, make sure it's legit. Nothing looks suspicious or weird about their email address or name. They're not kind of spam or anything like that, or someone from a different country. And if you want, you can always communicate with the person. If you want, you can select the person, check the box, and then from here you can email selected, and that will send them an email. You can communicate with them. You can, for example, tell them where are you or where you listed. Do you need? Are you in the same country or so on? Just to confirm and make sure that they are in the right place. Okay, so we'll go back in the partner dashboard. And again, as I said, you have account approved. Those are the approved already, but obviously they have not taken any training. So if you would like, you can communicate with them. You can inform them about the e-training, send the link for the e-training and let them know this is, the e-training. You can get trained on that. Also, you can offer training if any training happening, or ask them if they want training. You can simply just propose if they want to conduct some training. You can tailor that for them if you have that. And again, these are big numbers because they're under the United States, but under a partnership, it would not be the same. It would be smaller than that. Any questions about the partner dashboard? Okay. At this point, as John said, we only have like 6 minutes, 5 minutes. So instead of going further, I will ask you what you feel like you want. Is there something in particular or a particular section of the website that you would like me to explore?
I have a really quick follow-up question. If a teacher moves from one school to another and change their email address, they can go in and change their email address in their account, is what I understood from what you were showing. But they'll still have their same participant ID and their same history of data submissions and all that kind of stuff. And I think they'll still have their old school listed as a school they can access. And will that continue even long after they've left that school?
We don't remove the old school. So when that happens, usually they let us know so we can update their information and add the new school. So for example, if the new school they joined is already a Globe school, we just associate that school with their account. We don't really create it. Okay? If the school is not in the system, the new school is not in the system, we go ahead and add it, but of course we need the name of the school. We always ask ahead of time, like we tell them, please provide a new school name, address, and so on, the information that we need. Once we get the information, we'll look it up. If it's already there, we'll associate the school with their account. If it's not there, we'll add the school to the system and then associate it with their account. We do not remove the old school. In case, for whatever reason, the teacher needs to access their old data, for whatever reason, because the teacher is the owner of the data. We're not the owner. We're keepers of the data. So that data that the teacher actually entered, it's there. And if they don't have access to that school, the school houses the data. So if they don't have access to that school, they cannot access their data. So this is why we always keep their old school associated with their account just in case. And we add the new school, so they have the new school. And again, sometimes, some situations, we have more than one school, like a teacher who works in a school district, okay, and they just want multiple schools. So we just have them access to multiple schools at the same time, and they can create an account within these schools. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Sure.
It's good to know you can change your email address because, because it's linked to our school. If you left the school and you couldn't no longer access that account, I've run into this problem in the past, and you have to be a little bit proactive about anticipating when you lose access to your email account. Otherwise, all of a sudden you can't get into anything.
Oh, yep. I totally agree with you. The thing is, with the Globe website, I mean, as long as you remember your password, even if you don't have access to your account anymore, if you remember your password for the Globe website, well, you can still log in, and after you log in, you can change your email. If you can't, if you haven't logged in for a long time and you can't log into the Globe website and you don't have access to email anymore, so you cannot reset your password, if you just send us an email and let us know, we can update your email address and website. We just need to confirm that this is the person, just make sure that's the same name at least, the same name of the person. not someone from outside just trying to take someone's account and, use it. No, you have to make sure at least it's the same name. And they would just say that I don't have access to that email anymore, and I cannot reset the password. Could you help me? And we definitely changed the email address and reset the passwords. And then if they want change the school as well, we do that for them. We add a new school to the system.
I have to jump off, everyone, but thank you so much. And Eslam, this was really great. And please say hi to any of the Globe Program Office old-timers that might still know my name out there. So, Jan Heiderer, I saw her name on your list. So tell her hello for me, please.
Yep. I will definitely say, I'm sure she will. I talk to her every day.
Great.
One of the best team members of that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Noah.
Nice.
Thank
I
you,
miss
everybody,
everyone there. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. I really appreciated all your orientation there.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining.
Also, before we end, if you're still here, I put the email address if you have further questions for Eslam in the chat. So,
thank you. I did forget to share the tutorials, the website tutorials with them. I can send that by email to any participant. That should work.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have any more questions here, Eslam? They're still finishing up in the other room.
No question. I was wondering if anybody else has a question. I see David still with us, and if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy. I'm sharing my screen still, so I can go any other section of the website. Gary or David, if you have any questions, just let me know. I know David, I think, said that he's in the class, so this is why he's not answering, so that's fine. I'm not going to bother him.
He said he was multi-zooming, so.
I can't imagine that. It just must be. But I'm glad he was able to participate.
So I can bring us back to the main room, Eslam, if you want to
Yes,
say a
please.
few final words over there.
Thanks. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. This is our talk about the API. So an API, it's an application programming interface. And you use it to get direct access to data or services provided by an organization. Usually you'd use an app or a website or something like that that was pre-programmed to do certain things for you. But so with the API, you can get more of a direct level access to the data depending on how it was set up. So let me show you how Globe's API works here. I'll share my screen. So if we go to the Globe website, we can go over here to Globe Data and then Globe API. I'll close this sidebar. So once you're on the Globe API page, here's an overview. It'll tell you a little bit about how it works. Right now we have the GET interface working, not the POST, meaning we can get data from the database, not send it to the database using the API. There are other tools for sending data, but at the moment the API is just for pulling. So what you do is we can look at the API interface, and we can just brush over this example real quick if you want. This will just show you sort of how the tool works, but I'd rather just walk you through it real quick. Once you walk through the tool, it'll give you a URL that has all the selections that you've created. So let's go over here to the interface to see what it looks like. So this is the documentation for the API, but it also, this tool allows you to use the API on the web page as well as read the documentation about it. So you'll notice that there's all these different URLs here, and you'll see if you look a little closer that you can find measurements based off of certain certain distinctions. So if you're just looking for measurements that were taken in a certain date range, you would use this one. If you wanted to get more advanced, you can pick a place, protocol, and a date, or a distance from a place, or if you happen to know the name of something. So if you're just looking for measurements, general measurements, you can click on this first one, and you'll see here's all the protocols. So they have the protocols available. They're only separated by commas here, and the name of the protocol here is typically the name that they use in the database. So instead of, if you'll notice over here, they're in alphabetical order, but it goes from C, carbon cycle, and then conductivities, but there's no clouds. It's because in our database, they call clouds, it's listed under sky conditions. So you see it's actually over here, sky conditions. And then we have sky condition noons, which would be when people are submitting data at solar noon, which is when the sun's typically supposed to be right at the top of the sky in their area. So you'll see in red here, for this one, you need to select a protocol, you need to give it a date, and then you need to say what your range is for your date. So we don't need to use any of these other ones for now. At the end, you'll see there's GeoJSON. You can set that to true or false if you just want regular JSON. GeoJSON has some extra information about location in there. It's formatted a little differently. You don't have to use that one. Okay, so let's just pick a protocol here. We'll scroll down. You can click, if you want to use this out, you can click try it out up here. Otherwise, you'd have to write this which is possible. You can just write these things out. They are just text. So I want to be able to have things I install to my programming environment to be separated. So to do that, you need a virtual environment, that's what it's for. There's a module called virtual environment that creates these things. It's basically this exact same program. You're running Python, but it's the things that you install to it get installed somewhere else. So you just need to give that a name. So I'll just say Globe API virtual environment, or something like that. So when I do that, Python will go and create a copy of itself inside of this folder called Globe API venv. And now it's done. So once it's done that, I can activate that environment by typing in / and then Globe API. And then there's a script folder here, and there's an activate script. So when you run that, it'll put the name of your environment over here on the left. If that doesn't work for you the first time, it's because you have to run there's a command you might need to run. So I'll share that with you guys in my notes later on. Anyways, so once that's up, then you just say pip install request. Request is the library we're going to use. And when you want to install stuff, you just need to tell, there's a Python installer that you can use called pip, and that's how you use it. Anyway, so once it's in there, then you can load up Python and then import request. And now you've got that tool. And so what do you do with the tool? Well, we can take that. So remember, we have this URL, right? This big long URL that we created. And it's not doing anything for us at the moment, because if you try and type that into Python, it just says, hey, we don't know what this is. So this is where you would start to write a little bit of code that's going to give you this data set back. And the cool thing about code is code can go through and read all these different points and make sense of them, and then do things based off of the values. So in order to get this into our code environment, we would just need to write a short little script here. So here's a little script I have, and we'll just copy this in, and I'll explain kind of what it does here in a second. So,
Well, there's a question in the chat from Peter. Do you want to take it now, or do you want to finish your thought?
Sure. That's fine. I will just check out what that says. Let's see what that says. It says, can you download Python on Mac and use terminal? Yeah. Mac's even easier. You don't have to, Mac's based off of original FreeBSD, which is based off of Unix itself. So Mac does have a Unix history, which means that this whole code environment is actually integrated into Mac. So it's really easy to do this on Mac. You actually would just go to python.org and install the package for Mac. And then once you open your terminal on Mac, you just type Python, and you're in the same boat here. When you type Python on a Mac, you'll see it load up right away. So you'll be able to follow along just like this. No problem. Windows, it does a little. It used to be harder on Windows until they came out with the Microsoft Store. Now they have the Microsoft Store, you don't have to do any of the weird stuff you used to have to do because the Microsoft Store handles all of that. Like paths and symlinks and all these things that you used to have to do in Microsoft. You don't have to worry about that. So anyways, okay, so here we are. We have our requests, and now we just want to pull this data back and look at it. So we would just type, I'll just put this over here, so look at it real quick. Basically, this is how short programs can get. It's very short list of instructions on what you want it to do. So first I imported request, then I want to make a main function. And then I'd give it a URL. So I'd say my URL is the one that I got from the web page. So if I come back over to the web page and make sure I got it, I just want to use this URL that they created for me here. Then I'll come back. I can just paste that in there. Let's see, I didn't like that. You can always just push up if your computer, if you ever want to go back to what you were just doing, just push up and it'll reload it. It was just complaining because it didn't like, you have to start over. You have to say def main, and then you got to run the this one. Because it's just complaining because I didn't do it in order. So run it, and then make sure you've got the quotes around your code that you're trying to run here. So I have URL equals, and I have these quotes. I need to end it with quotes. That's fine. Okay, let's go check out the rest of this. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're getting the URL to load up. Then we're going to ask for request.get of that URL. And then this is just saying if the request comes back successfully, which you'll see right here, if the code is 200 and the request comes back successfully, then it'll return the request with only the first 500 here, just because the request can get kind of long. You don't have to only return the first 500. So let's see what that looks like. How easy it is to use a tool. You just say request.get URL. And that's why we want to use a tool. You can, in Python, you can write some code that'll go get a URL for you, but it won't look that. Just that one request.get. So that's how we use request. So let's say if the response status code doesn't equal 200, that's what this means. It does not equal 200. So it's going to check the code. If it's not right, then it'll just say error requesting, and then it'll tell you why. This is using an older way of writing code, so I'll show you the better way to do it. Basically, inside of here, you can just say response.status code. And then you just need to put a little F here. That'll fill this in. Okay. If that case is not true, then print the whole text that you got back from the website. I'll just do the whole text because we're already shortening it anyway, so we don't need to cut it off. And then down here, this just says, so that ran. Now we just need to say if name. Okay, so we called it, and here's what happened. It brought back all this data. And wow, that's a lot of data, right? So that's pretty cool. This is just printing that text out to us so we can see what it does. So when you're writing a program, you can start to make sense of that text and pull out just certain information that you want. You can even look at the text itself and ask what type of data this is. It should be a dictionary. So if you wanted to ask what type of data it was, you would just rewrite it. You'd have to go back to where you started. One second. So basically, you can start to poke around and see what the different data is. Now, what we're doing is we're inside of a just a regular text like this, this isn't as easy to use. There is this thing called Jupyter Notebooks. The cool thing at Jupyter Notebooks is since I already pulled all this data back and it's sitting here, it would let me use it again. I wouldn't have to go back and rewrite some stuff to get it to a working form where I can do something with it. That's also why you want to start writing scripts like this too. Because once you start writing scripts, then you can do different things to them. Like, so instead of rewriting this whole thing over here and making it work, I can actually just come over here and say, hey, I want to see the type of this response. Because I'm not quite sure what it is, and I want to be able to work with it. So if you just change that to print the type instead of just the response itself, then you can come over here. You can leave. So Python is in its little execution environment. So you need to leave it like that. Once you leave it, then you can just say Python in the name of your script. So I call my basic get.py. Hit the string. So it's saying that this is actually just a big long string. Which makes sense, but it's just a string because it pulled it back from the website. What you can do is you can just turn it into a dictionary. The good thing about a dictionary, I'll show you once it gets loaded, but the dictionary should, I guess there's a little bit of manipulation you need to do to get this into a better format, basically, but once you have the text, you can start doing things with it, pulling data out and writing programs. So one good thing I'd recommend is there's a place called invent with Python.com. And on here, you have all these different, teach you how to do stuff with code. This book right here will really help, I believe. It'll show you sort of what to do with all this text and how you can start to automate things and create cool programs to do things for you. So I definitely recommend looking into this because it'll show you how basically you could send that data in an email. And if you start to look over here at the Globe system, so since even though we can't send data to the API, like I showed you, we can pull data and then add the numbers. You can do whatever you want with them using tricks that you learn from different Python tutorials and stuff like that. But one of the cool things is with the Globe database, we do allow you to send data, email data entry. And with email data entry, your data just needs to be lined up in a certain way, like this. So there's message basics. Basically, you create an email message, you send it to Globe practice data until you get it right, and then you can send it to Globe data once you're done. But you just line the data up in a certain format, measurement 1, measurement 2, measurement 3, and then you send an email. So once you sort of learn how to use programming languages, then you can do a variety of different things, either send data or get data, and then you can update things, update files, update spreadsheets, even write to PDFs, fill out forms. So there's a lot more you can. It's really just once you get familiar with APIs, then you're starting to see that you can take these results and do a lot of fun stuff with them. So I just thought I'd just show you just how to get data onto your system and then sort of point you in the right direction on what you can do with that data. What I usually do is just I read a bunch of books and I try, instead of trying out the examples they're showing in the books, I usually try and modify the examples to do different things, like with the API. So I think that's, let me double check. So we can come over here to our query and change the sample to false. And then you'll see now it's going to pull back all the data for sky conditions. And this might take a while. Not just the 10 of them, but it'll pull back everything it can between these two dates, the 2010-01-01 and the 2010-03-01. Anything someone reported with the sky. Then it'll pull it back, put it on this page, and then we can, if you are looking at this in Chrome, you're going to need to copy everything and save it. If you do this in Firefox, Firefox kind of has all this stuff. More friendly for developers, I guess. you can do the same thing in Chrome, but it's just not set up by default. So if I was to take this exact search and put it into Firefox, it would actually look a little nicer because it'll format it. It'll recognize the layout of the response, and then it'll. Here, let me put a true on the sample here, so I have to wait for this to come back. Yeah, see, first it notices that it was raw data, but then it processes it like this. And then you can see the data a little bit easier, but you can also save it. So you can just hit save here, and then you've got your API data clouds. And then save it as a .json file, because that's the format that it's actually saving as. And then once you've got that JSON file, now you can do. There are other tutorials with Python on how to parse data, on how to look at data that's formatted in the JSON file. So that'd probably be the easiest way. Instead of trying to convert, like we were over here, trying to convert it to a dictionary, what you can do is you can pull the data back, put it into JSON format, and then once you have it in that format, you can start to look at tutorials online that are using JSON as their format. Because once you start to do that, like you'll see here, working with JSON data, chapter 16. So once you start to get the idea of how to do that, then you can do all this other fun stuff like sending messages, changing things. So, you know, like this manipulating images, for instance, what you could do is you could make a picture, like a dynamic picture that of the weather, right? And it has different pictures of sky conditions. You can pull the data back and update the sky conditions picture. You know, if the weather condition was cloudy, then show this picture. Or if the data was, you know, rainy, show the one with the rain or whatever. And that's what's kind of cool about APIs is you're not just having to sit behind the keyboard and mouse and drive the whole process. You can connect all these tools and ideas together and start to create something of your own. So if you're real fancy, then you can just send in emails and start sending in data as well. So. Then, yeah, so I guess this would be a good time for questions and answers, which we can do when we get back to, we can either start that now or we can do it when we get back, when everyone comes back. But I thought this would be a good spot to stop. I don't want to get too deep into the programming stuff, but I did want to give you that overview of sort of how I see it and how most other programmers see it as programming just is that glue that lets you glue all these different pieces together. And an API is really not necessary if all you need is just the data, right? If all you wanted was just to answer a question about some data and you didn't want to build this whole tool chain and all these different things that I just showed you, you can just come here and pull back with this retrieve data tool, because this tool does a phenomenal job of staying out of your way when it comes to writing anything like code looking, because here it's really just a bunch of filters. You just would pick the same one like we did before. So here they have the word clouds instead of sky conditions, and so you don't have to get as familiar with the database with a tool like this. And then you can just pull back your data and select your date range super easy with the nice sliders instead of typing the dates in manually and stuff like that. So this would be the tool I'd recommend for everybody, unless you are writing some project like we were just showing. So they guys really for something that you're creating, I would say, or if you just don't feel like using this tool and it's faster for you to pull back exactly what you're looking for from the API, you could do that. But you might, if all this just went over your head, you might just be interested in this tool instead.
Well, let's go ahead and take questions.
My question was just, would the pull be the same if you were pulling using the GeoJSON? Or can you only?
Right. Yes, it would be exactly the same. It's just a different format, and I should be able to pull up what I can't remember what the difference is. I believe it had something to do with it. There's some, yeah, it's this thing. There's some coordinate thing that it supports.
Right.
So they added it for geometric. Let's paste it in the chat. Basically, this is the big difference. Is that JSON doesn't have just a few more fancy fields, I guess. You can add them, of course, but then you have more of a custom JSON. So, like, they created this one just because it kept coming up all the time. I believe we use that just for, I can't remember what they're using GeoJSON for. But, yeah, that's all. It's just a different way of looking at the data. Oh, sorry, Todd, I sent that only to you. And Todd, it says you had a question about Firefox?
Yeah, since I'm a Firefox user, when you were talking about it, it kind of faded out. I couldn't quite hear. Did you say it's a little easier to use Firefox than other browsers?
Yes. The API would be great because you would do this task once. You would sit down for a couple hours, play around with it, and then from now on, you could set it up to check every day, and Python would go, it'd run the query, it'd look, it'd see if the data had changed. If it did change, it would go change the picture for you. And the website would have the new picture of the cloud or whatever was there. So that's sort of the different scenario is if you have something you want to do regularly ongoing, write a program for it. If you have something you just do once, then just use the advanced data access tool, probably easier. So programming tasks are good for, you find yourself, I mean, here's a good example. Like, so back in the day, inside stores, they used to have to print, they would get spreadsheets from similar stores with the pricing and the products. So they would know what other stores' products they are selling and what prices they sell these products for. And they literally print the spreadsheet out, hand it to a bunch of different employees. Here, you do this much, you do this much, and you do this much. It would take them several days, but the employees would just go through all the prices. And if there's a product in there that they also sell, they would write down what the price is. Are these guys selling it for less than we are or more than we are? And then they just have, it would take them a couple days and then they get the answer and then they'd know what products that they're selling more expensive or less expensive than their competitors or something. So with a program, you could just have one guy spend a couple of hours to write a program that does those checks, that gets all the data, looks and sees, is the data newer, is it not newer? If it is newer, what do I do with it? And then in a couple of seconds, you've got the same amount of work done. It just took you a few hours ahead of time to write the program. And then every time going forward, when new price sheet comes in, you just hand it off. The program does the same thing it did last time, and you get the problem solved. So that's sort of how you could think of an API is. If you've got a pipeline or some task that you're doing that has several steps and maybe even several people, you can automate that away. It might take you a couple hours, but then in the future, you don't have to ever do it again. You just keep using the same code. Because like code, you might spend a couple hours building it and creating it from scratch, but it's not like a sweater or something that's just made for one time. You can copy it. You could use it again. You can come back years later and you've got all the same code is there. You can modify it. And also you don't need any raw materials. It's all right there built into your computer. It's just text and commands. So. You got it. Oh yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, hey, thanks, Ryder. So one of the questions I have is when I work with students and citizen scientists, they always want to know what can they do with their data, how can they use it to present and do research. And one of the applications I mentioned was the ArcGIS story map. So I'm wondering, is there an easy way to migrate their data to create a story map using ArcGIS, and which application would be best to use for that?
Let's check. So on the ArcGIS story map documentation, let's see what they've got. They have a web app builder. Let's see what that is. It uses HTML JavaScript, and Yeah, so it looks like the cool thing about HTML, JavaScript, and Python, right, is they work together so well. Because HTML is really just the code of how the website's supposed to look, and JavaScript is how the code is supposed to function. So with Python, you can actually get to, I mean, I don't see why not. Right? Whatever data that this ArcGIS is using, you can just get Python to jump in the middle and replace it or update it or do whatever you want to it, basically. So basically, you can do anything you want with programs. It's just you just have to spend some time sitting down and connecting the pieces. It's really just a lot like Legos, right? It's like you've got an API is more like you got a nice big box of Legos, and then a specific tool like this ArcGIS. This would be like just trying to get your custom Legos to work with the one from the Lego store, right? Like the one that came with the instructions in the box. You put it together, and now you got to figure out how these pieces would integrate with it. So yeah, it looks like you just have to figure out what programmability you have in this ArcGIS app, and then just integrate whatever you want it to do. So if it was just the ArcGIS just needed to know all the values for what you wanted to plot, like the locations for all the data points, you could just run a query to give you back all of those locations, and then take the data and hand it off to ArcGIS. And so, like for instance, when I write Python code, I tend to write a lot of services, is what I call them. It's basically you spend a lot of time writing something to do, like sending an email, right? And once it's all ready and it can send an email, then you take out the pieces that are different, like who the email goes to and what the email contains, the body part. Those are probably going to change, but the rest of the stuff, like how the email actually gets sent from my computer and all these other things, that's more of something that's not really going to change. So I just call that a service. You can put it in a different file, and then every time you want to send an email, you just say, hey, call the email sending service and give it two things. I just need to give it the to email, and I need to give it the body of the email. And so that's kind of what you could do, is you could probably write a function that gives ArcGIS whatever it needs, and then anytime it needs something, you could just run that function and hand it the couple things that it doesn't have, and then it'll do its work. More of that's explained in that automate the boring stuff. But,
Okay, thanks, Ryder.
yeah,
You would just run it like a web map service inside the story map. You create your map using the URL that you pulled from the API, and then modifying it so it's updating all that. So you don't have you have a start date, but you don't have a finish date, so it'll refresh every time you refresh the map. So
Cool. All right, thanks, Mike.
Okay, so Roller, I'm like,
Yeah.
somewhat lost, but
Okay.
all right. So I went to the API thing on the Globe website.
Right.
I did try it. Right, I had the drop-down menu, and then it created a URL.
Right.
Okay. Then I went to command line. Is that where I should go next?
On your Windows machine?
On my Windows machine, yeah.
Okay. So you went to command prompt. Okay.
Yeah, I did that. Okay, that's where I am. Yeah.
Okay. Just type Python and push enter.
Oh, but I have to download Python, right?
Well, if you just type Python and push enter on Windows, it'll automatically pull up the store
Oh, I see what you're saying.
with Python already loaded. It'll actually pull you directly to this page, right? Right here.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, that's what you. Yeah, I saw you do that.
Yeah, and then once it's here, you can install it. Once it's installed, so you're going to have problems unless you do. Let me actually just share this note with you real quick. I'll throw this in the. Here's my Windows notes. I'll throw this in the chat here. So basically, Windows needs, after you install Python, Windows needs you to do this thing if you want to do virtual environments. The execution policy thing. Otherwise, it won't let you run a virtual environment. But yeah, I agree. It does take time. And when things don't work, you got to figure out why. Wait, what did I do? Oh, I didn't put another quote there. Okay. Yeah. But little things like that. But I'll be happy to help if you are writing some code like this and you have questions. Feel free to shoot to the help desk and we'll take a look at it. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to share. I really enjoy this stuff, and there's just so much you can do with these computers, right? Like, especially that's why I like to use a different operating system as well, because once you start to get into programming a bunch of stuff, you're really going to want more control over the computer itself too. So when my computer turns on, I want it to do this, I want it to do that. There's always different things, or even if I don't have a computer yet, right? The cool thing about automation is there's automation scripts you can write to go to a service that rents computers like Amazon or Google or DigitalOcean or anybody like that. Build my computer, set up Python for me, right? Without me having to do any of this stuff. Install get the latest version of my script, run it, go do this, go do that, turn the computer off, whatever you want to do. You can do all kinds of stuff like this. So I was even showing the 3D pause data team, the people that create 3D printed weather stations, that if they actually got control of the operating system, because they were just using some random Raspberry Pi thing. But if you actually put FreeBSD and it's the same operating system that you use for all your other stuff, and you understand how it works, you can connect all these computers together with a couple lines, and now all these computers can talk to each other, and then you can just program them all to either send data back and forth or erase things that are getting old or whatever it is that you want to do. Whether it was just pull the current temperature from the machine itself or what.
Well, we are about out of time. Eslam and Roller, thank you so much. For those of you who are still with us, we appreciate you attending this session. We'll send out a quick little 2 or 3 question survey so you can share your thoughts if you have any feedback for us. And as Eslam and Roller both said in their sessions, if you have further questions, please use globehelp@ucar.edu, and they'll get back with you for to answer specific questions that you might have or give further clarification. And then also be on the lookout from Deanna. She'll send a link out to the recorded session in case you want to watch the other session that you didn't get to go to. Hopefully we captured everything on our computers, and we'll stitch them together and make them available to you. So thanks again to our presenters, Roller and Eslam, and thank you all for attending.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.